The scalare or angelfish is a graceful disc-shaped aquarium fish from the cichlid family. If you have seen a scalare with your own eyes, then you know that these aquarium fish are simply mesmerizing, eye-catching, you want to buy them right away. However, do not rush, these interesting fish are as easy to care for as the seller can tell you and are very demanding on the equipment of the aquarium. If you cannot buy an aquarium of the required volume, then it is better to postpone purchasing them until better times, otherwise you will simply kill the animals and be disappointed in the aquarium hobby. History. The first description of the common scalare dates back to 1823, when the zoologist Martin Heinrich Karl Lichtenstein described the fish as Zeus scalaris. After 8 years, the French scientist Georges Cuvier also described the scalare, possibly the same as his colleague, and gave it the species name Platax scalaris. The same genera included marine fish, very similar to the scalare. But in 1840, the famous Austrian zoologist Haeckel singled out freshwater scalars into a separate genus, which he gave the name Pterophyllum, which in Latin means winged leaf. The specific epithet scalare is translated as ladder. It is still not known for certain whether the fish got its name from the stripes on the dorsal fin, which climb up like a ladder, or simply from the striped color of the body. The Altum scalare was first described at the beginning of the 20th century by Jacques Pellegrin. It was caught in a tributary of the Orinoco River. The species name Altum means tall and indicates the elongated dorsal and anal fins of the fish. The first reliable data on live scalars brought to Europe date back to 1911. Until this time, all attempts to bring fish ended in failure. Initially, the fish was sold under the commercial name bladfish, leaf fish. A little later, the fish was called angelfish because of the similarity of elongated fins with angel wings. This name has survived to our time. The first offspring from scalars in artificial conditions was obtained in 1914 by the German aquarist Joseph Kwankar. A little later, his success was repeated by Ulyam Paulinn from Philadelphia, U.S.A. The features of the successful breeding of scalars were kept secret for a long time, which made it possible to keep the high cost of fish. But by 1920, all the covers were removed and the mass breeding of scalars began. The first veiled scalare was produced in 1956 and the velvet black one a year later. In 1963, a third species was described, Pterophyllum leopoldi, named after the king and zoologist Leopold III. In modern aquarium culture, you can find a large number of varieties of scalars, differing in color, size and shape of fins. Care and maintenance. To keep most varieties of scalars, an aquarium of 100 liters per pair is required. It is desirable that the height of the container is at least 50 centimeters. The maximum size of individuals directly depends on the volume of water. It is best to keep these active and sufficiently mobile fish in a school of 6 or more. Scalarians have a rigid hierarchy in the pack, usually one pair dominates, which actively shows their superiority over others, periodically arranging skirmishes. The soil is fine pebbles or coarse sand, suitable for growing live plants. It is recommended to create zones with dense vegetation. Aquarium scalars, like their natural relatives, can swim in dense thickets without problems and also hide down in case of danger, for example, to avoid the aggression of other individuals. Natural driftwood or grottos can be placed on the ground. Scalarians love clean, oxygen-rich water, so good filtration and aeration of the aquarium will not be superfluous. For this purpose it is best to use external filters and efficient compressors. Scalarians tolerate bright lighting well, so it must be matched to the needs of the grown plants. Scalars are tropical fish, it is desirable that the water temperature does not drop below 24 degrees Celsius. The fish are not picky about the hardness of the water and easily adapt to almost any value. Optimum parameters are 5 to 15 dgh. It is best if the water in the aquarium is slightly acidic or neutral. Do not forget about weekly water changes in the amount of 25 to 30% of the volume of the aquarium. Poor conditions of detention, of course, will lead to a loss of color intensity of the scalare.